Hello, everybody, and welcome to my Lunch and Learn series. This is the Fall Lunch and Learn series. I did a little mini one. My name is Helen Panos, Dynamis Learning, a K through 12 tutoring SAT, ACT prep company. We do executive functioning and advocacy as well. We advocate for your student in the school system. I think the screen's a little narrow because they've changed the layout for some reason here. So when Crystal joins me, hopefully we'll be able to see each other side by side. I am starting off this webinar or this Facebook Live, and we're going to be talking about ADHD and flying under the radar. And what parents can do about that. So Crystal's going to be joining me in a minute. She is my executive function coach, and she has had an issue with her computer, so she'll be joining us in a few minutes. But I'm going to go ahead and get started on it. And let's talk about a little bit about why ADHD often goes unnoticed and those signs, talking about the signs that often get missed because parents may think, oh, they're young, they're going to grow out of it, something like that. And what you can start doing right away as a parent. So why does ADHD go unnoticed? Well, first of all, kids do not always present themselves with these classic signs of what I think most people know ADHD to be, which is hyperactivity and impulsivity. So people know ADHD is now inattentive and hyperactivity, and there's also a combined type, meaning a combination of the two. The one that's the most difficult to see is the inattentive one. Because kids are in their brain. It's all in here. And the way it may show itself is in task initiation. They daydream, they delay getting started on assignments. They're not getting it done in time and in school, but you're noticing it at home because they're just kind of messing around, or you think they're messing around, but really they have this task initiation issue and inattentive possible ADHD. Of course, you have to get, go to a pediatrician or a psychologist, whatever, and get diagnosed. So we're just really talking about what are some signs you may see. So quiet, smart, polite, or people-pleasing kids often slip through the cracks, especially in the school classroom where there's 30 or more kids. They may refer to them as a teacher pet. Oh, she's my favorite student. He's my favorite, student, A student, something like that. He's always, and then you start asking questions like, oh, do they participate in class? Well, no. They're not raising their hand. So you may get comments like that if you're asking teachers a little bit more. Girls and high achieving students are especially likely to mask these symptoms because they're just good at it. They're really smart and they can mask them. Many behaviors are mistaken for personality traits instead of executive functioning challenges. That's a really good one, and that's where Crystal can step in and talk a little bit more about behaviors mistaken for personality traits, and some subtle signs that parents commonly miss. Highlighting like daydreaming. I want to bring that up, especially if they're younger. They're zoning out during class or homework. You just kind of watch them from afar. You're in the kitchen, you're watching them. They're at the breakfast room table, and you're like, they're still sitting there for 30 minutes later, and they haven't written anything. Difficulty starting tasks. That's the task initiation. Even easy ones, they will have difficulty with. Chronic forgetfulness. That's a big one. I'm seeing a lot of that. We just started a young man, 8th grader. He totally forgot he had 2 tests on last Monday, science and math, and failed both of them. So he has ADHD, and that's what's happening to him. But they'll forget water. They'll forget bottles. They'll forget papers. They'll forget instructions. They'll forget they have a test, even though the teacher has told them. And they slowly work in their own pace from a mental overload. They're not lazy. People think they're lazy at first, but they're not. And then there's the emotional sensitivity. They really are quick to get frustrated. instead of just kind of being chill about it and just saying, hey, I don't understand this, or I'm not sure what's happening. So perfectionism is another one. Sometimes you see a lot of OCD out there, so be aware of that. They're used to hiding overwhelm because of the perfectionism. And good kid syndrome, one of my favorites, quote unquote, following rules but silently struggling. Very kind but shy, but really inside of them, they're struggling. And let me go back. Why catching it early really matters. Let's go into that. It helps prevent academic dips and confidence drops. The more kids struggle with something in their routine, the more you know, they're just going to struggle. And then that kind of hurts their confidence because then they're not paying attention maybe to their math teacher and they miss some steps and not sure how to do it. And that just eventually will kind of knock them back. Reducing anxiety would be a good reason why it matters to catch it early. There is a lot of test anxiety going on out there. And I think when kids are quiet about struggling, their anxiety is going to bump up. They're getting frustrated more, and conflict starts happening at home. They're arguing with you about other things even. Helping kids build executive functioning skills before middle high school demands increase. That's really important, is to catch it as early as possible. And, it would basically be the best thing is if we can catch it earlier. And I do have an elementary now executive functioning coach who can do that. It would be much better to catch it earlier before the topics and the homework gets really difficult in middle school. Supporting kids long term in terms of self-esteem and motivation is very important. And what parents can do right now is observe parent patterns. When does your child get stuck? Pay attention to it. When do they get overwhelmed or emotional? Use some small structured steps, like break tasks down and reduce the mental load as much as possible. Don't have them doing a whole lot of things, even social and academics. They need some downtime for sure. Now, what I'm seeing are parents are really overbooking their children. Check for executive functioning skill gaps like planning, organizing, time management, things like that. Create predictable routines to lower that stress. More structure to the day, the better. So scheduling the homework time, attack the harder stuff first. Use positive language like, let's try this strategy versus why can't you focus? Why are you not able to do your homework? It's the way you talk to them, what words you're using, that would be best to use the positive language. Ask teachers what they're noticing. Definitely email the teachers and ask them what's going on, especially during transitions or multi-step tasks. You need to be a little more specific because teachers may just go, oh, they seem to be doing fine. But ask more specifically what's happening during transition times within the classroom. And then like when they're teaching and then they're transitioning, telling them to do something. Are they seeing them starting the assignment or not? Are they looking over here talking to people? Are they just daydreaming? Do they see them writing? So be more specific about that, especially math teachers where there's a lot of multi-steps tasks that they have to do in steps. Seeking support if challenges persist. Tutoring, executive functioning can definitely help. We are here to help you guys with that. If you are encountering things, just give me a call so we can have a free consultation about this because it's better I hear it than I might come see it, or at least we do Zoom and virtual because that is 95% of my business nowadays, and actually both my executive functioning coaches are virtual, but it works, I promise you. So please reach out. I'm not sure because they've changed things here on, here we go. Contact me at 770-282-9931 or email at info@dynamislearningacademy.com. Happy to basically, help you guys out in terms of, what is it that is being needed? Let me add Crystal in. Yay! And I don't know why we're so small. Well, maybe there. I'm not sure. StreamYard changed their layout. Yay! Well, welcome. I did go through my whole spiel, but I know you've asked. You've sent me a couple questions, and I want to cover those real quick. But I've talked a lot about what parents can look at. What is ADHD? How does it look? The inattentiveness, the hyperactivity is not the only thing. I also went through. I'll summarize it real quick. The why ADHD often goes unnoticed, and it looks more like task initiation being a big one.
Yes.
And personality traits is what I wanted you to talk a little bit about. Many behaviors
Sure.
are mistaken for personality traits instead of executive functioning challenges, maybe. And
Mm-hmm.
people don't know what executive functioning is, so they think, oh, it's personality. They're shy. They're whatever. We talked about 4 quick examples of subtle signs that parents may see. Daydreaming, difficulty starting tasks, chronic forgetfulness. Oh, we know that one, right? Crystal's been working with an 8th grader just recently where I think I mentioned this. He totally forgot he had a math and science test. And you're probably going, what? How can that be? It happens,
Mm-hmm.
believe
Yep.
me.
Studied for it and everything, and then still forgot that it was the next day. It's about
Yep,
right.
and failed them both. Yes. And then didn't prep because he didn't remember about it, right?
So we can talk about what we did because of that also.
Okay. Emotional sensitivity is a big one because when kids get stressed and frustrated, they're going to, kind of get emotional about it. Perfectionism is a big deal. I talked about, how that they'll hide the overwhelm, and the good kid syndrome where they follow rules but silently they're struggling. So that's one that teachers can't even see. It's hard. So, and then I talked about why catching it early matters and what parents could do. I hadn't gotten to that part actually yet. Oh, I did. I did go through that too as well. So actually, I just had finished, and your timing is perfect.
Perfect. See, it was meant to be.
I know, right? So I'm going to go through yours real quick, and we'll try to run through it. We often think of ADHD as being hyper. What are 2 to 3 common signs of inattention that parents often mistake? You see, we know each other well. For
Yep.
a child just being lazy or unmotivated. So what would you like to add to that?
Okay, so when it looks like laziness or not trying, that is what we usually see. Okay. And so it starts out as, okay, this person is having a problem. And then suddenly there's some apathy that happens. There's some leave me alone, that happens. There's a
I
little bit
got
of
this.
lies. Yeah. A little bit of lies here and there, a little bit of, and
Hmm.
what's happening there, where they're just kind of giving up, right? Is because imagine if you are being constantly corrected all the time for stuff that you are not meaning to do, right?
Hmm.
Constantly corrected over and over and over and over. Eventually, what you do is you start to say, okay, well, I could either get in trouble for this because there's nothing I can say or do that's going to make somebody understand. I don't have the words for that. Or you say, I could lie, and then there's like a 50-50 chance I'll get away with it, and then less likely chance that I'm going to have to deal with something. Like I'd rather deal with that than have to deal with the other. Right.
Hmm.
And so that's when you see it looking like laziness. That's when you see it looking like, I don't care. I don't want to do it.
Hmm.
Because that's a way that somebody can explain what's actually going on with them. And so we see that a lot kind of, towards the like 8th grade, like middle school
Middle
to 8th
school.
grade. Yeah. Where they start doing that because there's a lot more that they have responsible.
Hmm.
And so a lot of parents come to us with well, this is a discipline thing. This is a conduct thing. And it's like, no, this is a I don't know what to say thing.
Yeah.
And so usually giving the kid words to say, the child words to say, and then the parent the understanding of that's what's going on, a lot of times helps with that.
Hmm. Yep. I agree. So, what's the key difference between normal childhood immaturity or a child being high energy and the level of impairment that truly signals a need to investigate ADHD further?
It's the it's the attention seeking part of it where it's an understimulation of what ADHD is, an executive dysfunction. There's a chronic understimulation of the brain, right?
Hmm.
And so they're trying to stimulate themselves in multiple ways, not just so they're trying to be excited, hyper, trying to make jokes, trying to be a clown because all of those things are stimulating, right?
Hmm.
Then they might throw some bad behavior in there because that is also stimulating and they're not realizing that. They're doing it subconsciously because they're trying to stimulate themselves.
Mm.
And so when you can tell the difference is usually when they're a little bit younger, they're kind of all like that, but you'll see the ones that are just constantly trying to get attention one way or another,
Hmm.
and they do need more attention. They do need more stimulation, and so a way to do that, and I will ask you this, Helen, like which grade or which age group should I be talking about here? Like,
I mean, you could talk about little ones too, but I know you do more like 8th through 12th grade.
right, I'm like, okay, so when they're little,
Yeah,
so when
you can
they're
talk about both because
yeah, when they're little, it is a little harder to tell, like I said, and that's why doctors always say, "Oh, we want to wait till they're, 8 or 9 or something like that to give them a
right,
real diagnosis,"
yeah.
right? But you really can tell before then. If you're able to see a lot of different children in an environment, you can tell.
Mhm.
Um,
And they
but
show
when they
patterns of the same stuff over and over, right?
Right, they show patterns of it, and so when it gets into, middle school and high school, while there's still some hyperactivity there, you're also gonna see them going for things that are stimulating. It's kind of
Mhm,
like a thrill seeker in a way. They're gonna be
mhm.
wanting to play the games more. The video games
Yeah,
are highly stimulating. It's
mhm,
gonna be hard to break them from their focus from video games and from videos and things like that. And if they, they'll fall in love with something, whether it's a person, a hobby, or you know friends, or an activity, something like that, and it'll be really hard to break them from that, and that'll be the only thing that they can focus on because it's the only thing that stimulates them enough where they feel like they're
mhm,
normal,
mhm.
right?
Yeah,
And so it's actually, and it's unrecognized as that. And they think, I just hate school. That's just so boring. You'll hear them say something like that. And then they go and they play football perfectly, and
yeah,
that
mhm.
makes people with ADHD when they grow up, and they still have those symptoms, they make really good paramedics and like trauma doctors and things like that because
Right,
those types of jobs are so stimulating that
right,
they
it's a
they keep
challenge.
you going, right? And so it's really important to find their what they want to do in life, that nugget, that carrot at
Mhm,
the end of the stick of what they want to do in life, that intrinsic motivation, of interest that they have. And so I can dive right into personality with that one. You know,
mhm,
figuring out what, you know, personality they have, like through different methods, and figuring out what other people that are like them with the same interests and values end up doing. You can more quickly, should I say, figure that out. And
mhm.
so that is a lot of what we do with coaching. We try to find out what it is that they're like, okay, that's actually really interesting. I'd love to go for that.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, they do a lot, like, when you're about to start, being a junior is doing football. He has a business already as well, but then he's trying to keep up with all his courses. I mean, I'm not surprised if, you know, ADHD. Sounds like a lot, but they can handle a
They
lot
can
too.
handle they can handle a lot, but also you have to remember that they do tire quickly.
Right.
Because if you're running on all 10 cylinders all day long, it's like
Mhm.
everything that you do is all 10 cylinders, and so you end up running out of energy a lot quicker than other people might, and so you might actually need a little less of the activities in a way. You'll see more exhaustion at the end of the day.
Right.
and more restless sleep, because there's still that understimulation still goes into the evening and into their sleep. And so
Mhm.
they might wake up very tired as well. So there's a lot that goes into it for that.
That's true. Can I ask you one quick question? Because this one's a good one about girls, and we can answer it in a couple minutes and in this. But ADHD is frequently missed in girls. What are a few of the internalized or masking behaviors that lead parents to overlook ADHD and instead assume their daughter just has anxiety or is a perfectionist?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, that one goes far. So girls, as a lot of us know already, girls they go undiagnosed a lot easier. Women are, in our society and through, typical personality, um, they tend to be a bit more, what should I say? We try to conform, should I
Hmm.
say?
Yeah. The
We're
guys hide, I think, and we conform to
right.
society.
The guys are bouncing out of their seats, and the girl is like, I'm going to bounce out of my seat, but I better not, because I'm going to stay under, I'm going to stay quiet and, you know,
Do the right thing.
right, do the right thing. And
Look
so,
correct.
yeah, look correct. And so we have that about us, that, and it goes unseen. And then it also goes with, we tend to be a bit better at masking.
Hmm.
That's the other thing too. So we women,
'Cause we're drama queens.
we're drama queens. Yes, we are good actresses. And so that tends to be the thing. So women are, they've done some studies about this, how girls, we see the details in faces better than men do. So we see details in things better than
Ah,
men do. And that's because they say it's because we are, we need to be able to look at the babies and know what the baby needs, right? And
mhm,
so that's why dolls are so highly advertised to women, right?
mhm,
But also the same thing, goes along with it, is that we are able to look at somebody else's face and mask and mirror what they're doing a lot easier than men are,
mhm.
because of that. And so you see a girl that's sitting in class and she's mirroring the teacher. Oh, yes. Mirroring, like, okay, got it, mirroring the teacher, and still struggling, yet trying really hard underneath that struggle. And so they still get the procrastinations, or the not procrastination, the perfectionism thing, because
Mhm,
they're trying really hard to show that they are normal.
mhm,
In school, they're trying to be as normal as possible. And so they're going to try as hard as they can to make the perfect grade, because they're failing in other areas of executive function, right? But they know they can sit down and do that. And so that goes into college too. You see the girl who's in college and all they're doing is studying all the time, and
yeah,
their room is a huge mess, and they're making great grades, wonderful grades. Like, everything is great on the outside, and then on the inside it's a big mess. And that just reflects what's going on inside the brain,
I'm not
right?
surprised because women are all about how do we look, attractiveness, make
Right.
all of that.
Right,
Just
right,
the
and
whole picture, whereas guys are not really
right, there's
too
very a
much
lot
that
of
way.
detail happening with us.
Mhm,
And so that's why we go under the radar. And it's very challenging though, because there's a self-esteem issue happening there, where, she knows, okay, if I'm going to be found out, and I'm going to be found out as this big mess of a person, and then that leads to that, um what's it called, where I'm trying to think of the
perfectionism and
term. Yeah, I'm trying to think of the term. Where we go into the workforce and we don't believe in ourselves.
oh, like
Like, we're
lack
going to
of
be found out.
like an imposter syndrome or
Yes,
something.
I said I'm going to be found out. You guys figured out I have ADHD yet? So that's what happens. You get that imposter syndrome, and then they end up kind of just, you know, unfulfilled in
And it's
life.
interesting when you say all this, really, Crystal, because then people are wondering why we have all this anxiety and they're blaming it really on COVID or, I don't know, kids are too busy, it's social media. But now that you're saying all this, I
It's
think a
another
lot of it
factor.
has to do with how people think about themselves and how they take things in personally, right?
Right.
And hold it in.
And how
And
they hold them.
how well, I mean, we had this about even an 8th grade boy. He doesn't want, because he is social and we're doing executive functioning with him. He doesn't want his friends to know he's struggling, right? Even though it's a different idea versus a girl, but it's kind of still the same thing. He's not going to open up as much, which is
Right.
hard for a parent to try to, and then they're just trying to get it out of them, and then that turns into a battle.
Right. And they don't want to tell anybody because they don't know what's wrong and what's right and what's going, about them. And so that's why another reason why personality is so important, and figuring out what that default setting of personality is, because they can be like, "Oh, actually I'm kind of like that already as a personality." And that's okay, and there's a way to live like that. And
Mm-hmm.
so there's a misunderstanding, with personality types, and it has to do over time management. And what we see a lot is we see a parent that's very type A, that's very, dueling out. You've heard me say this, dueling out time in 15-minute increments. They are, um, stressed about time, highly planning. And then you have the other side of personality that's very laid back and likes to leave their options open. And there are more of the first one, but
Mm-hmm.
only by a small percentage. And so a lot of the world is over there being like, "What's wrong with me?" And really, it's just the way you like to leave your options open as your
Mm-hmm.
personality.
And
You like.
we're seeing a lot of women with type A personalities now, more so. I
Right,
think because of
right,
their jobs, and I think they think that that's also how they should speak with their children, is the way because they're very successful women. We're not
right,
knocking type A personalities at all, but matter of fact, I'm really impressed by them. But
right. I am too.
but then their sons are nothing like that. And I know
Hmm.
you've had to talk to some of these moms about how to talk to their sons, or, because you're like this personality. I just want you to be aware it's not going to work this way
Right.
with him,
Yeah.
right?
And it's highly important, and that's been one of the most important things to teach within families, is how to understand how people manage time, and how they, because some people will wait till the last minute. Some people need that extra, like, reminder to do things, but not a "why haven't you done this yet?"
Mhm.
Because to the time conscious of the personality types, they look at that and they say, that stresses them out to look at that and see it happening at the last minute, right?
Right. Right.
But really it is part of that personality. They need that extra stimulation there towards the end to get it done,
Mhm.
especially if there's ADHD. And so if you give them some gentle reminders and some understanding of what's going on, they're going to get it done.
Mhm. I
Yes,
talk
it can slip under the radar and end up not happening. That is true. But if you can take a deep breath and be like, "Okay, I'm just going to help remind you to get this done. Is there any way I can help you get this done?" Then
Mhm.
it'll end up getting done quicker, because if you put the pressure on, then you have that the procrastination, the task initiation issue, and then it just falls apart.
Mhm. I
Mhm.
talked about one of the ways parents can approach all this, and can do right what they can do right now is using positive language, which is, let's try this strategy versus, why can't you focus? Exactly what you were just saying. Because I
Mhm.
think that's exactly where we're going to jump to first. People are very busy. You're like in a hurry and you want this to be fixed quickly. So that's how you approach them. But when you should kind of just go sit down with them, have a chat. I'm just thinking about a parent I just spoke to, which you're going to start on Monday. I love the way she told me she went and spoke to her son, who's a football star, and saw, hey, I see you, going back to exactly what you're saying, Crystal. I see it in you. Do you need some help with this? And he's like, yeah, I think so. But luckily, he's being more open, and so she said, well, I think I can see it in your face that you need, so that was like a great way to approach him, instead of going, okay, it's your football schedule. We got to stop this extra football. Well, that's not going
Right.
to happen because he's already being looked at by different schools. So, you know, it's interesting. A lot of it, and parents may feel uncomfortable about having to change the way you talk, Because you may think it's changing your personality, right? So I
It's
think that
it's meeting the middle of the road. It
mhm,
really is. So
it's a
there's
struggle.
something to be said on either side with communication. It's like, yes, you're gonna have to try not to wait till the last minute, and you're gonna have to understand that it might get a little closer to the last minute than you're comfortable with.
And they're all about,
And
let's find a solution. So the solution
right.
is they found me, which they
Yes.
got them the executive functioning. Because a lot of parents will say, I hear this all the time. Well, we're arguing all the time. This is not working. I need somebody else to take care of this. So that's where we all come in.
Mhm. You come in, and it's talking to the student, helping that student understand, just understand, and giving them the words to explain what's going on with them is a huge thing. Because
Mhm.
the to be real, the symptoms of executive function are insulting to to society. Like it makes people frustrated and angry because
Mhm.
it looks like laziness, it looks like I don't care, it looks like all of those things. And
Right.
so they know to keep their mouth shut, because if they try to say something about it, somebody's like, you don't care. What are you trying to tell me? You have an issue with that. What does that even
Mhm.
mean? That's the easiest thing in the world,
And they're
you
also
know?
probably thinking that people don't understand them. So they
Yeah,
don't want to say anything.
exactly.
And
That's
a lot of
Yep.
people that are not in education or have kids that have ADHD, there's a lot of people out there that still probably think, oh, they're just being lazy.
Oh yeah. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. For sure. And you have to learn, that there are some people you just can't explain it to.
Hmm.
And just be okay with them not understanding. Just be like, all right, well, they don't understand, I guess, and let's just move on to the next thing.
And it is
But
getting more accepted now that there's been more research out there. I'd say about 10 years ago, not as much, but
right.
now I think more so for
hmm
sure.
And it really is educating society and educating the people around them.
Hmm.
That is the most helpful thing at this point,
I
because you can
agree.
only do so much on your end.
Hmm.
They can only do so much. It's not going to erase executive dysfunction. It's not going to do that. And we all have it. That's the other thing too, is that we all have times of executive dysfunction.
And I
Everybody does.
really, I do pray that managers, as these kids grow up and go into the workforce, that they are training managers on this and how to speak to them as
Yes.
employees.
Yes.
So,
There
yeah,
These
so that's
companies
why
are
it's,
getting. Yeah,
yeah.
we went to that gala on Saturday, that about, they were
Hmm.
talking about the business owners that hire neurodivergent individuals,
Hmm.
and then the qualities that they bring to the table is
Hmm.
incredible.
The strengths, yeah.
Yep.
I bet there's plenty of people we all know out there in the real world, the famous people that have done big things, presidents, this and that, right? That you guys may not even know, and they may not know if they're older that they have ADHD,
Mhm.
executive functioning. So, but they have teams, right?
Mhm.
So
That's what it takes.
they have other people that take on their weaknesses, just like
Mhm.
anybody should if they're running a business.
Right.
So anyway, I know this has gone lengthier, but I think it's a great topic and the last one for Crystal for this year. But we'll be back in 26 with executive functioning and Crystal as well. I do have one more lunch and learn next week, and she's going to be joining me. Her name is Adrienne Akil, and I'm going to find her company name, but she's doing some great and amazing things. She's out of Marietta, Georgia. Actually, her office is over there in Cobb, and I'm trying to find my flyer and can't seem to put my hand on it. Like, well, is there anything else you'd like to add, real quick, Coach Chris?
Um, that that should do it for today. If
Okay,
anybody has any questions, please reach out.
we'll do free
I do
consult.
free consultations, to talk to you about what's going on and see if your child's a good fit, or even you. So we work
That's
with a
right.
lot
We
of
get
adults as
adults.
well. Usually people don't realize that their kids even have an issue, because they are struggling themselves, and it's normal behavior in their
Hmm.
household. And
Yep.
so, yeah.
And Adrienne, actually, I found her. She is the founder of Expressive Healing. It's going to be all about play therapy. Those of you that have younger kids, and building confidence and calm in young kids. And this is where it needs to all start: is the younger the better. I think I talked about that earlier too. So go back and catch that part. But thank you very much, Coach Crystal. I appreciate you. And hey, we're in the season of thankfulness and gratitude. So namaste.
Namaste.
All righty. Thank
All
you
right.
guys and everybody. You guys, I hope you all have a great rest of your day. And I will see you guys again next Friday at noon. Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye.